Thank you so much for joining us for today's professional development series, Industry Spotlight on Cybersecurity and the Tech Sector. My name is Nicole Bush, Director of Alumni and Career Professional Development here at Tulane. And we also have Sarah McAllister here from Associate Director of Career and Professional Development. We're here to help you with tech problems and navigating through. Also want to let you know that the session is being recorded and we'll be sharing it on the YouTube channel afterwards, so you'll be able to see it this afternoon, and as long as it's up there, which will be a long time. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat as we're going through this, and if you have any tech problems, please send those over to Sarah and she'll see if she can help you with those. And we're going to go ahead. Without further ado, we're really excited to have the Professor Ralph Russo and some alums, Isabella Casas, I'm sorry, did I get that right?
Yeah.
James Jang with us to share their experiences and answer your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to them. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Nicole. And so good morning, everyone. It's morning where you are. I'm Ralph Russo. As Nicole said, I'm the Director and Chair of Information Technology Programs at Tulane SOPA and a Senior Professor of Practice. We've got some interesting discussion to have today. The benefit of these sessions is you could kind of peek in and see about other people's transitions and things they may have wished they had done differently, and kind of benefit from others' experiences. So what we'll do today is we'll hold our questions till the end of the session, and then at that time you could put them in chat or you could come off mute and ask them, but we'll hold them to the end. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel, and we'll start with Isabella Casas. Isabella, introduce yourself. Tell us what your major was, when you graduated, and what your current role is in the IT industry.
Yeah, so I was a coordinate major. I did computer science and information technology, and I graduated in May 2021. And now I currently work as a product operations analyst at Beyondtrust, which is a cybersecurity company.
Great. Thank you, Isabella. James, can you tell us who you are, what your major is, when you graduated, and what your role is?
Yeah, definitely. I graduated in 2017 with a dual major in IT cybersecurity and economics. I also had a minor in chemistry, but I don't use that very much. And then for my current role in cybersecurity, I'm a security analyst at ReliaQuest, which is a software as a solution sort of company, but also a MSSP.
Great, James. So while we're talking about your role, let's start with you, and then we'll ask Isabella. Tell us what a day in the life looks like at your job, based on what you're responsible for, how you're situated in terms of teams, do you work at distance, and what you like best about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we work in the office. So we have a security operations center. I am right now located in Las Vegas. And every day we go into the office and sort of get situated. We start off by, so we have like what's known as the board, where we get to take a look at all the security alerts that fired for the day. And like based off like the different security alerts, there will be security alerts that are assigned different like priorities. So you have like a high or critical severity alert, and then you have medium alert, then you have a low alert. We'll prioritize like at the start of the day what we'll be working on. So obviously you want to prioritize by priority. So you want to do the critical and high severity alerts first and then proceed down. And then some of these alerts that we usually work are like what happens in a customer's environment. So for example, if we have a customer that it has a contract with us, they'll have certain rules built out in their environment. For example, if there's suddenly a connection to a foreign country that they don't do business in, for example, like China or Russia, then there will be a rule that fires in their environment. And then we'll go in, we have access to their SIM, we have access to their EDR tools. We'll go in and sort of investigate, take a look, see whether or not that is malicious in nature. If it is malicious in nature, we'll sort of write up a report about it and then escalate it up to the customer. So that's sort of what I do on a mostly daily basis. We also do some stuff here and there around like tuning different rules. So we'll obviously there are certain rules in the environment that will that need to be created, and sometimes there's issues, or sometimes there's a lot of false positives that generate, and then we'll also take a look at those. But for the most part, that's what we do. We'll take a look at alerts that fire, we'll sort of triage them, and then depending on our investigation, we'll either escalate it to the customer or close it out as a false positive. And then, yeah, that's about it.
So James, so in the Security Operations Center, which you guys sell security as a service, in the SOC, you guys will use data on previous triggers to fine tune future triggers and recalibrate those so that you're triggering on the right things and triggering less on the wrong things. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Yeah, that's something that we do on a daily basis, where we'll continuously tune our rules to where if we see something that's a false positive happening over and over, we'll submit a tuning request to our content development team, and then they'll take a look at it. But yeah, it's our responsibility to sort of recognize those patterns and then send it up to our content team to take a look at.
And I would say, maybe you'll agree, that outsourcing some security functions is a growing field. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think so. I think like a lot of companies, they want to keep a very like small SOC, but then outsource it to a lot of these big cybersecurity companies. So they still like have an internal SOC, but they don't have the time to look through like thousands of alerts every day. So they outsource to like a major cybersecurity company, and then they'll get us to take a look at some of those alerts.
Yeah, so in our programs, both at the graduate and undergraduate level, we've got, as you both know, we've got Master of Science degrees in IT management and cybersecurity management. What we try to do is, of course, focus on the technical, but also focus on best practice and governance. And it seems that that you guys in the Security Operations Center are in a unique position to help them establish governance and process to better secure their systems. If you see that there are breaches in certain areas or there are attempts in certain areas, you can provide that advice to customers. Can you tell us a little bit about that aspect?
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of what we like, sort of like cybersecurity governance that we provide to customers, whenever there's sort of a what will usually happen is that, like, say like one of the alerts fire, and we'll investigate it up to the customer, and the customer will come back to us and be like, oh, this is a critical severe security issue, and then they will want us to take a look at it. Usually what happens, or another thing that happens, is a customer notices something in their environment that's anomalous, and they will send it up to us to take an extra look at. What happens from there is that we'll have a threat hunting team specifically look at those breaches, because at that point it's considered a breach, where the company has, like, for example, ransomware in their environment, or something else like C2 traffic coming out of their environment. Then they'll go in, take a look. They'll make certain recommendations to the customer, such as they'll have to find out like what exactly was the infection vector, try to seal that off. Obviously, they'll try to make like offer remediation steps, like if it's ransomware, what do you do? And then from there, like they'll sort of give the customer a heads up on like what further future steps they can do to prevent this from happening, such as like patching, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, like we're giving recommendations to the customer and giving as much value to the customer, but it's still their environment and they still control it. So we always give them recommendations to implement, essentially. Yeah.
Thank you, James. And one last question before we go over to Isabella on a day in the life is, would you say that demand for even moderately skilled folks in your field is high?
Yeah, I would say it's really high. So right now, I know ReliQuest as an organization is continuously hiring security analysts and detection developers and everyone sort of in that sort of mid-tier cybersecurity field. I would say that like if you look on LinkedIn, like that sort of that job field has only like expanded. You always see like there's like recruiters always hitting you up on LinkedIn about this job and this job. And it's pretty big of a field where they need a lot of people.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I get contacted on a daily basis, literally a daily basis, by folks looking for students who are sharp in cybersecurity, whether it's the technical end, the governance end. It is a hot market. It's been hot, and it's expected to grow by another 30% or so by 2029 at least. So those numbers are coming from the U.S. government. So this is a hot field, and you can see that the work is pretty interesting. I mean, you're basically a digital sentry and response group, and in James's case, you do it as a service to other businesses, which enables you to see a lot of different businesses, networks, and what's going on, right? So you're in a kind of a unique position to get intel about and then pass it along to your other customers about what's going on out there. So thanks, James.
Yep.
Isabella, tell us about a day in the life at your job. What are you responsible for? How are your team situated? Are you guys distance-based or in office? What do you like best about it? And so just give us kind of a heads up.
Sure. So my role is a lot less technical. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a product operations analyst, and product operations just as a field in general is pretty new. And it's definitely a really new department to my company. So we deal with release management. Beyondtrust makes a lot of cybersecurity software. So we have a lot of products to take care of, and I manage about half of those products, just making sure that new releases, new products, any sort of updates we're doing, that all of those processes are running smoothly. I have a lot of meetings. I talk to a lot of our internal stakeholders every day, just making sure that everything's going okay, and that they're getting their deliverables turned into me on time. And we also do a lot of reporting for these stakeholders. So we try to collect as much data from customers as we can about, like, what features are they actually using? What would they like to see in these products? Things like that, so that they can incorporate that sort of data and that feedback into their new releases. So that's mostly what I'm responsible for. The way my team is currently structured, so there's me, and one other prod ops analyst. I'm based in the West Coast usually, and he is in Canada on the East Coast. So we can cover pretty much everybody between the two of us. We have our boss who deals with much more high level issues in the prod ops department. And then we also have a technical project manager within our department. We might split in two if we get more TPMs, but for now, even though she has a completely different job from us, she works with us directly. Let's see, other than that, I mean, our teams are pretty, spread apart, and they kind of shift structure, not super frequently, but it does happen. So overall, though, we're under the engineering department, and we mainly work with other engineering people. I don't ever usually deal with, sales teams or anything like that. My position and my partner's position, we're fully remote. We were hired as a fully remote position. We're never expected to go into an office, but if we want to, we can. And I can't speak for every single role in the company. I believe there are some that require you to be in a certain area to be assigned to a certain office. But for the most part, from what I understood, since the pandemic, a lot of people who used to work in the office got the option to switch to being fully remote if they wanted to. And there's also a lot of fully remote positions available out there. So yeah, overall, very flexible, but we do have a lot of offices throughout the country and around the world even. What do I like about this job? I guess mostly I really like the people that I work with. I talk to a lot of people, so it's good that I like them. My direct team, I really enjoy interacting with them on a daily basis. And the company culture overall is really, I don't know, relaxed. They're a very cool company. They really understand and emphasize the importance of having like a work-life balance. And aside from that, I really enjoy the release management work that I do a little bit more than the reporting stuff that I have to do. Yeah, I guess that's the gist of what I do every day.
I'll just jump in and say that the demand for talent, whether it's the technical end or the governance and process end, and is so great that companies are in many cases are willing to, encourage distance working, promote the proper culture. I like to hear you say those things, because these are the type things that make folks happy at their job and fulfilled, and some of the type things. And so I'll tell you this, about 2 months ago, a local New Orleans company sold for, I believe the number was, I don't know, 500 million or 50 million, whatever it was, but it was a big number. And I remember going down and meet with the CEO about it 3 years ago. And I told them our students were great at these many different technical areas and traditional project management and so on and so forth. And he looked at me and said, "Ralph, that's great, but product management is what I really need." And after that, it was 500 million. Thank you, Jimmy. The product side of the house, product managers, product engineers, is another very in-demand skill. And after that, we established an undergraduate Bachelor of Science concentration in IT, in product and program management. So we do flex to what the industry needs. And it also seems like, Isabel, it seems like your job is a bridge in some ways from the technical to the governance and process. Would that be right to say that?
Yeah, it definitely is. That's usually how we would describe ourselves, actually. We like a bridge or a hub, anything like that. But yes, you're definitely right.
Yeah, so to do that translation, you do need technical knowledge, and but at the same time, a lot of your job is translating that into a process. You mentioned release management; that's an entire process, or DevOps, and these are processes to get to finished products in a way that's sane and repeatable and quality informed, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so it's great because we heard about a more technical cybersecurity position and a bridge type position that needs technical knowledge, but also is very much concerned with governance and process to deliver quality products. So I think, and both of those fields are absolutely exploding right now. So let's to move on, let's talk about what is a piece of advice, James, I'll throw this to you. What's a piece of advice that you would give current students that are about to transition from university to the workforce?
Yeah, I would say a good piece of advice would be to always, I guess, come into the workforce with an open mind, and be able to always continuously learn, because on like whenever you're starting a new job, I think like there will be a lot to like learn, to take in. Like it's almost like drinking from a fire hose, like when you're starting off. So you always still want to have that like learning mindset, like just because you're like in a role doesn't necessarily mean you stop learning. I can say for sure that like probably like 3 or 4 months in, like I was learning things every single day. And that's like true of like a technical position, but that's also true of literally any other position. You want to be able to continuously learn and continuously improve. Oh, another thing that I would also say is that I would like use the time that you have now to like know what you're good at. Like, for example, I know we have that capstone project at the end. You sort of, there's both technical parts and there's more like governance parts of that project. And like it lets you sort of know what you're good at, so that like when you go into the field, you know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And it really helps you in that aspect, because it's sort of like a testing ground, and it sort of gives you experience to know where those strengths and weaknesses lie. So
yeah, well said, James. Lifelong learning, especially in technology, which changes constantly, is super critical. And also, thank you for the plug on our capstone project. That is one of the goals of the capstone project, is to have students experience the wide range of what they do, of what they've studied in all respects, and cover all the different areas of their program learning objectives. So that's great. Isabella, what piece of advice would you give to current students that are transitioning into the workforce?
Yeah, I think definitely going off of part of what James said is just keeping an open mind, because I know when I was getting ready to graduate, like I said, I did my majors in computer science and information technology. So I was pretty much only looking for like development jobs or jobs like James's in security, or like IT help desk kind of roles. I was looking for that sort of thing. And had one of my former professors actually not told me about this prod ops role, I don't think that like had I stumbled upon it in the wild, I ever would have considered that it's something I would be qualified for or even good at. So I don't think I would have even tried if I didn't have somebody to push me to look into this sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing, is I would say, despite what your major was, definitely keep an open mind about positions that you might be seeing.
Yeah, there are so many roles in the IT field that thinking of yourself in one specific role just isn't helpful. There are so many variations and shades of different roles. I get asked sometimes, what kind of jobs do your degrees prepare people for? And I said, well, do you have about 24 hours? Because I can tell you about the type of job, because every company does things a little different, and roles and responsibilities change. So I think that's a great point, Isabella. And by the way, I see the questions in the chat, and they're great, and we're going to get to them. I want to talk a second about transitioning. We talked about transitioning from university to workplace. Well, if you're transitioning in the workplace, if you're a career changer, what advice would I give to people who are transitioning in industry, having been in industry for so many years? As a leader, I would say that if you want to transition into another role, there's multiple fronts you need to kind of fight at. One is to get an academic foundation in this new field. So if you were transitioning from a non-IT job to an IT job, at the very least, if you've got an undergraduate degree already, get a graduate certificate. And if not, go a full-on master's. At the same time, I also recommend, not one or the other, also recommend that you look at professional certifications. That's one of the reasons that when I took over the department, I made sure to partner up with Amazon and CompTIA and EC Council, so that we can offer certifications in our courses, and you'll get academic credit, and then you'll get a voucher to take the exam. So because both are needed, you need academic education to understand the foundations of information technology and cybersecurity, because it will change. So you need to know the foundations. But professional certifications tell employers that you know how to do this thing right now in a very narrow and focused way. So both are necessary, and just interest in the field. I know that students who join my cyber competition team show it's a voluntary thing. We compete against other universities. That interest they show, by the way, both Isabel and James were on the cybersecurity team. That interest they show in that field, when they put it on a resume, tells an employer. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, and I will tell you, when I see that their outside work interests are in the same line of what they'll be doing at work, it tells me that they're going to bring excitement and interest to the job as well. So if you want to transition from another field, show interest, get some credentials, academic credentials, professional certifications, and this way you'll be able to speak intelligently about it in any conversation, including at a party. You never know when you're going to make that connection that's going to get you to where you want to be. Isabella talked about stumbling into it, right? I hear that all the time. And so if you're at a party and you're talking about what cybersecurity might look like in 5 years, and somebody hears that, you might find yourself with a job offer at some point. So that's something I recommend. So the next up, if you could tell us the ways in which your education at Tulane prepared you for the workplace, both technical and non-technical. Start with Isabella. How did your education prepare you for the job? Technical, non-technical,
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what we discussed in my interview, but I do remember that I was able to pull very specific examples from both of my majors of like different projects that I worked on that I thought would apply to this role. So I would say it was mostly, because it's a non-technical position, it was my soft skills that I got from my education that really prepared me for this role. I mainly was just able to prove that like I knew how to learn new things and that I was a good, communicator. And that was pretty much what they were looking for, is to make sure that I am adaptable and would be able to work on the team very well. So.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Isabella. We offer, quarterly. We have a professional development series that I run. It's a free thing. It's on a Friday for current students in information technology programs. And some of the topics, because of the very reason you said, is some of the topics are, for example, I brought in an industrial psychologist to talk about EQ, right, or emotional intelligence, right? And what that means in the workplace. We brought somebody in to talk about how to wow an interviewer to get a cybersecurity job. We brought in an expert to talk about email. What does professional email look like? What should you avoid? What should you make sure you do the extra work to get in an email, such as context? So these are the non-specific course-related things that are also important in industry. And I'm glad to see that some of the other stuff we did and some of the classwork you did too was directly usable in your interview and at work. And so with James, same question to you. How did your education prepare you, either technical or non-technical, for your job?
I think for me, what helped me the most, maybe it's because again, like it's a little bit more technical. I would say like it's the certifications that I was able to get. I know Tulane like offers those classes with certs, and those certifications definitely help. Like Security Plus is huge for sort of IT security roles. Same for Networking Plus. Those are two big certs that a lot of employers are looking for. But beyond the certs, I think you also have to like know the stuff, because for my role, I know like in other roles that like fellow coworkers have applied for and stuff, those will usually ask for like 1 or 2 technical interviews. So besides like having that certification to maybe get you in the door, you also have to sort of retain that knowledge and know it, and demonstrate that you know it to employers out there. So I think Tulane definitely helped me like get that knowledge initially, and also like the certs. Without taking those classes, I would not have gotten those certs. So those are for sure what like let me enter like the sort of cybersecurity field. I would say like once you're in the door, it's much easier to meet like coworkers and make a lot more connections. Like there's a lot of people like in cyber that transition from job to job. So you're able to get sort of more people know you, and that lets you sort of build your network, I would say. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, James. Yeah, we designed the programs to have hands-on labs and to also offer professional certification for exactly those reasons. And that's both at the graduate and undergraduate level. And again, I see the questions on certifications in the chat. We are definitely going to get to those before we finish. But James and Isabella, I'm glad that some of the stuff we're doing prepared you to both get the job and succeed in the job. So that's what we're here for, and that's great. Always great to hear. I never get enough of that. So next up, James, I'll throw this back to you. Is there something you wish you would have done more of while at Tulane? That could be coursework or extracurricular or social or some type of service to university. Is there anything that the university offers that you wish you might have done a little more of?
Gotcha. I think thinking back, like I would say like I had a pretty big course load. Like I was taking like over usually 20 credits like every semester. And I would say like maybe if I looked back and like I probably like wouldn't stress so much about like a bunch of the coursework. Like back then I was like taking so many classes and like constantly stressed about midterms and papers and stuff like that, and definitely focused a little bit more on the extracurricular side and the social side. Not to say that like that coursework wasn't helpful. For sure it was helpful, but just for me, I would have like liked to focus a little bit more on that extracurricular and social side.
And the social side might have helped you in your job today, right? Would that be, yeah. So that's what I figured. So the balance is important. And that, by the way, we could graduate that discussion outside the university to industry. Sometimes while doing your job and doing it well, you get so focused on the day-to-day details that you kind of lose sight of the larger picture, which is relationships that show that you're capable of doing more, and that you could do more in a way that makes other people comfortable with you and wanting to work with you. So I think there's a lesson there. So thank you, James. Mm-hmm. Isabella, any thoughts on that? Anything you wish you'd done more of?
I have kind of the same experience as James, where I did like a lot while I was a student. Like I got 3 minors. I don't use them. Like it was fun. Like I really enjoyed all of those classes for sure. But now when I like think back on my college experience, I really miss having the social life that I used to have. And I mean, for both James and I, it was kind of all stunted because like we graduated during a pandemic, and so we missed out on like what, a year maybe of like just normal things. So yeah, looking back on it, like I do wish I had had more time with my friends, because now we're all like scattered to the winds, and I love my job, but you know, I do work from home. I don't go anywhere. I only see my coworkers, and yeah, I miss what it was like in college. So I would say take advantage of that life while you can.
Yeah. I mean, social isn't, I think any enlightened, certainly enlightened leader would say that encouraging people to have full social lives and again, balance is important, makes them better workers. And so I think that's a situation that feeds itself. So I know my oldest daughter works for Zillow in technical operations there, and she's forbidden to send emails after the work hours. So they want the life balance, and they want employees not to burn out. Even if their natural inclination is to burn out, the company weighs in and says, no, none of that after work hours. So it's important to know that there is a balance required, and that balance is not just to keep you happy. It sure it is, but it's also giving you other skills that could, somebody said the word stunted, that could get stunted if you don't get enough of that. Although I can assure you that both James and Isabella have great social circles and are looked at as wonderful people. Having met with, I'd hire either of you today if I was back in industry. So with that, we talked today a little bit. I want to get to these questions. So we talked a little bit today about things that help folks, whether they're at their current job or transitioning or seeking a job. And we heard from folks who've just been through it and what they're reporting back from the front, what it looks like out there. And there were some definite nuggets of information there that I took to heart. Isabella mentioning her coursework very specifically at an interview to get a job, and James talking about how some of the certificates here at Tulane, professional certs, helped him get the job and succeed right away, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I enjoyed that. So before we get to the questions, I just want to tell everybody on the call that if you do want to come back to school at the graduate level, for certainly for my programs, information technology related, I have a master's in IT management and a master's in cybersecurity management. Those are Master of Science. I also have 6 graduate certificates out there, and Tulane alumni qualify for a 20% discount on any SOPA course. And so that includes information technology certificates, courses, and degrees. So, and the tuition rate in SOPA is already much lower than you'll find in many other places, including the rest of the university. So just want to make you, and thank you for posting those links, Sarah and Nicole. So with that, let's get to some questions, and well, let's see if we can work our way through here. I'll start at the top. I saw Chase, who I remember being in my class. I hopefully he enjoyed it. Does a cybersecurity position require IT experience? And the reality is that your work and your education in Homeland Security are important. Security pertains to both cyber and non-cyber, right? And so you have a leg up there, but cybersecurity does require technical knowledge of information, regarding information technology concepts, whether it's networking or infrastructure, or cybersecurity does jobs. You almost always require some knowledge of these things. You can't secure something unless you understand how it works. You can't secure a building unless you know how people come and go and where the doors are and the windows. So the answer there, the short answer is you do require a certain amount of IT experience. And grabbing a graduate certificate in information technology plus a professional cert will probably help you understand that better and tell employees that you've done this work. So Chase, I hope that helps. Next question is from Michael Cauldron. How is Tulane preparing students for these kinds of positions, and how, as a hiring manager, can companies tie into that pipeline? So that I could give a very long answer, but I won't. We're preparing students by, again, we offer a bachelor of science in IT with 4 concentrations: app dev, cybersecurity, product and program support, and enterprise systems and cloud. We offer 2 master of science degrees, IT management, cybersecurity management, 6 graduate certificates. In addition, we prepare them. Just about every course I offer has a lab in it. So you go hands-on technical. Isabella and James have both taken many, many labs, would you, right? And so you will be familiar with systems. And so in doing so, we also have the professional certifications. We also have the capstone course. So you're exposed to information, then we kind of revisit that information during your degree progress. And then at the undergraduate and the graduate level, we have capstone projects, which helps you master the information in your degree. So if you're an app dev undergraduate student, your capstone will have an application development where we combine you with product management and requirements engineers and so on and so forth, and you all work together to build an application. And many times we do this for businesses. We offer services for businesses or organizations so that the things you do go to real businesses, and we try to do that as often as we possibly can. So Michael, how can hiring managers tie into that pipeline? I do it every day. If you want to hire Tulane students and you're willing to work with me to get job descriptions and some kind of leg up for Tulane students in the process, then I would work with you to identify students to hire, graduating students. I have companies that sponsor my cybersecurity or my IT events. I have Entergy is going to sponsor one in the fall for robotic process automation. I have one coming up next month for IT students and comp sci students to do a cybersecurity challenge. That's being sponsored by a giant IT concern. So you can sponsor stuff for students as well and get to know the students and do hiring that way. So there are a bunch of avenues that we could talk about. Hope that helped, Michael. Esther Saka, I hope I said that right. What kind of certs are there and how can we find out more information about that? Well, there's a link that Nicole posted there. If you click on that, and you'll see on that page, you'll see our partners. And some of those partners are Amazon Web Services, EC Council, Red Hat, whom I missed, CompTIA, and clicking in and look at those, you'll see the certs we offer. And again, these are, we do academic instruction, but in the academic instruction, we prepare you to take the certification exam and you get a voucher. And by the way, that's covered with a lab fee at the start of the course, which is either half or 1/4 of the price of these on the outside of the university. So Esther, I hope that helped. Does the university engage students in continuously improving its own cyber defense posture? Well, directly and indirectly. I have multiple faculty members who also work in the university's IT department. So things go from the IT department's problems into the classroom and from the classroom back to the IT department's security. So that's kind of a bleed over that works really well. Additionally, many of my students work for the IT services department as support on the university campuses. I know, James, you did that for a while, right? And so James worked and helped out hands-on with IT support. And so that James's knowledge and information was able to be injected into IT operations. I also personally serve on the Senate Committee for Information Technology and on the procurement committee. So I have relationships there, and I try to help out whenever they're interested in help. So did that, Michael, did that answer that question? I hope it did.
That did, thank you.
Yes, and I'll look for your contact. So that's the chat questions. Does anybody want to come off mute or did I miss a question? Please feel free to come off mute and give it to us. We're happy to answer it. All right. So if nobody else has a question, I just want to thank everybody for coming. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, Keith, thank you for the kind thoughts for Isabella, James, and me. We love to have you join. We hope you took something away. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to throw my email address in the chat, and if anybody wants to follow up, I'll get them. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have if you're in Louisiana, I hope you have a safe day today. We're getting some extreme weather later on. Everybody stay safe, know where your safe place is, and be on the alert for any kind of tornado warnings. And so stay safe, everybody, and thank you for joining in today.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Ralph, Isabella, and James. That was really great. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us. We really appreciate it.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.